Yeah. Okay, guys. So please remember that your cameras gotta be on. Please make sure that they're on. Okay, guys. So today we'll continue working on the reading section. Remember that we're looking at the types of questions that you get in the reading part. And I think last class, I'm not sure, but I think we started with vocabulary detail. And I think we also covered reference questions. So we're going to continue. So any questions before we start? Okay, so we said that the vocabulary questions were the one that were asking you about the synonym of a word or the word that that's closest in meaning to another word, and you needed to look both at context and at meaning, right? So if you knew that what the word is, then you just go ahead and choose that one, and if you don't know or not so sure, then you just look at context. We also looked at the detailed questions, which were asking for very specific information, very detailed information. So you just needed to look for it, find your keywords, then narrow down what you have, and then just paraphrase the answer. So now let's look at the exact type of questions. We haven't done this last class, have we? All right. I'm not so sure. Okay. So for this type of question, guys, they're going to be asking you for information that's actually not in the passage. So it's pretty similar to the detailed questions. It's something very specific, very detailed. But in this case, they're not going to be asking you for something that's mentioned, but in contrast, they're going to be asking for something that's not there. So this is, I will say, one of the easiest ones, because everything you need to do is eliminate the options. So everything you're going to do is just going to go like hand in hand, what you have in the text, what you have in your options. And since they're asking for something that's not in the passage, then you're just going to go checking the ones that are in the passage. So it's like a list of things that you get, like a recipe that you need to go checking. So I have this, I have that, I have this. So the only one that could be is the one that you don't have. Okay. So we're going to see how that is. We have this question here. So will anybody please read the question and the options?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, thanks. So one of you two guys can go ahead.
You first.
Okay. Which of following is not mentioned in paragraph 2 as a main factor in the development of Teotihuacan? A, the presence of obsidian in the Teotihuacan Valley. B, the potential for expensive irrigation of the Teotihuacan Valley lands. And C, a long period of volcanic inactivity in Teotihuacan Valley. And D, Teotihuacan's location on a natural trade route.
All right, Christian, thank you so much. So now, please, I'm going to ask you guys to read the paragraph. I think we can just read this on our own. So you can read it on your own and try to come up with what the answer is. Okay, so try to think of what the answer could be, what the right option is. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, guys. So what do you think? Which one isn't mentioned?
Option C.
Option C. Okay. You'll agree?
Option C.
Okay. Anybody has a different one?
I would choose option D.
Option D. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. So what you need to do here is still kind of the same as you did for the previous one. First thing, look at your keywords, try to figure out what they're actually asking about. So they're asking for something that's not mentioned as a main factor in the development of Teotihuacan. So that's what you're looking for, right? So you just need to look for the part that says, okay, so these are the main factors in the development of Teotihuacan. So you're gonna look for that. Right now I'm looking at some keywords here, main factors. So how did this tremendous development take place and why they happen in the Teotihuacan Valley? Among the main factors are, so among the main factors of the development of Teotihuacan are, and as you can see, guys, you have a list of things there. So you have a list of different elements like Teotihuacan's geographic location, or natural trade route, and the obsidian resources, and so on. So I've always, seen questions like this. Most of them are gonna be this is called an enumeration. So basically, as you can see, they are separated by commas, right? And you get at least a list of things. So you will always have that when you have this exact type of question. The only thing you need to do is identify each element and look for them in the options. So the first one, the first factor is Teotihuacan's geographic location on a natural trade route. So you look for that in your options, and I think that's actually D, right? So we could eliminate that option. Then you have the obsidian resources in the Teotihuacan Valley itself. So that is option A, isn't it? The presence of obsidian in the Teotihuacan Valley. Then you have you have the valley's potential for extensive irrigation. So that's B, and that's it. That's where the list ends, period. So the only one that's not mentioned is C, as most of you said, so a long period of volcanic inactivity in the Teotihuacan Valley. That's actually the correct option. Now, some people maybe, may get tricked because they're gonna be looking at what you have next. So the exact role of other factors, and then you have a lot of other things like the Teotihuacan's religious significance, the generating for sinus of the elite, natural disasters, the volcanic eruption. So they may be like, all right, but they're actually mentioning something about a volcano here. So couldn't it be C? I mean, I think we could actually eliminate that one as well, right? But you need to think of what they're asking for. They're not asking for other factors. they're asking for the main factors. And these here are the main factors, okay? Geographic location, obsidian, and the potential for extensive irrigation. Whatever is next, that doesn't matter, okay? That's not part of the response. So just look at your list, careful, make sure that you read the question, that you read the note, and you don't just need to go checking one by one to see the ones that you have. So is this okay? You guys agree with me on this? Is it C? Yeah, right?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So that one was a piece of cake, I would say. Okay. Now the next one though is a bit different. These inference questions that we have, as you may guess, per the name, they're asking for you to make an inference. So they're not going to ask for something that's directly stated in the passage or that's directly not stated in the passage, but they're going to ask for something that you have to draw conclusions to. So you do have to do a lot of reasoning here. It's something that it's not going to be, you looking for the answer and finding it. So the answer is not going to be in the passage. You're going to have to come to the answer. So you need to create it yourself. All right. The thing about this is that you always have 2 per passage. So they're quite common. They're asking for implied information. So something that's not explicitly said. And you need to read between the lines in order to answer these. So you need to read, try to think of what information you have, what information you can use, and come to a conclusion based on that. So you need evidence, of course. It's not just that you need to make something up. You need to prove why a certain option is the answer, and it obviously involves logic. So let's see what this is about. So is there anyone please read that question? My God, guys. My God, sorry, my internet wasn't working. So please, will anybody read the question?
I can, teacher.
Okay, thank you so much.
What can be inferred from paragraph 3 about Quilco prior to 2200 before Christ? Option A, it was a fairly small city until that date. Option B, it was located outside the Valley of Mexico. Option C, it emerged rapidly as an economical and political center. And option D, its economy relied heavily on agriculture.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's wrong with my Wi-Fi today. I think it might be the weather because it's burning hot, but it's also super windy outside, so that might be it. Okay, right. Thank you. I got to, you got to read the question. So please, what we'll do now is I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to read the paragraph and try to think of what the answer is. Okay, let me know when you got. Okay, so what do you guys think? Which one will it be?
Option B, it might be, I don't know.
Option B, okay. Do you all agree?
Oh, sorry. Option A.
Option A,
Yes.
okay,
I got mistake.
all right. Anyone has a different one? Anyone's gonna go for something?
I go for option C.
Option C, okay. Maria Fernanda, which one are you gonna choose?
I
I'll
am
go
dumb,
with C too.
but I will go with C.
Okay, so yeah, okay. All right, guys. So the thing about this question, as I was saying, I would say is, I mean, some people say it's one of the hardest one, because I was saying the answer is not gonna be there, no matter how much you look for it. You just need to try to use the information you have to come to a different conclusion. So the way you're gonna identify one of these is because of the question. It's always like, what can be inferred about this? Okay, so whenever you read that, what can be inferred, you know it's an inference question, and you need to try to come up with what the answer could be. So let's read this. Now, Jorge, I think you said A, right?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so can you try to explain why A would be the right one? Why do you think A is the one?
Because it says a number of relative small centers coexisted near the Valley of Mexico.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think because that, I don't know.
oh, okay, gotcha. So you're saying relatively small centers coexisted in and near Valley of Mexico, and one of them was Huitquilico. So you know that it was a small center. So it was
Yeah, and it was an volcanic eruption, and then it disappeared. So until that date, it was a very small city, I think.
okay, you're right. There was this volcanic eruption, and then they disappeared. But weren't they the largest of those centers? I mean, they were small, compared to Teotihuacan, but I think Huitquilco was the largest of those small centers. Okay, so it could be. I know what you mean. What about you guys? Can somebody explain C? Why C? Why would it be C? What makes you think it's C? Can anyone explain?
Well, maybe I can try.
Okay.
Because after the the band, it says that it develops, it emerged, leading economic and political power in central Mexico. So after that event, we can say that it emerged rapidly as economical and political center.
Okay. All right, perfect. But here, when they say they arise as the predominant force or may have emerged as a leading and economic, okay, so. Okay, but are they referring to Cuicuilco here? Because remember, the question is, what can be inferred about Cuicuilco prior to 200 before Christ? So in here, they're not talking about Cuicuilco, are they? Because they said with Cuicuilco eliminated as a rival, and there we have any one of a number of relatively modest towns may have emerged as a leading economic and political power in Central Mexico.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean? So they are not referring to Cuicuilco when they say any.
Okay, yes, you're right. So it's not C.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think it's C. I don't think it's A either. I'll tell you why. Can you try to guess what the one is, what the right one is?
Likely D. I will, I don't know how to say it, eliminate 8 too, since I think it's too general for that. And now I can read very well. And the part of with much of its agriculture land covered by lava, it points out that they was like a agriculture land. And after the lava, they have like a problem. That's why.
Okay, perfect. So yes, there you go. So that's why. So the right one was actually D. Its economy relied heavily on agriculture, and it's exactly because of what Maria is saying. So you need to think of the things that you do know about Cuicuilco, right? Prior to 200 BC. So what happened with Cuicuilco? First thing, we know that it was the largest of those centers, the largest of other centers other than Teotihuacan. It was a powerful center, And after that, there was this volcanic thing going on. The agricultural land was covered by lava, was basically damaged and affected because of the volcanic eruption. And that caused them to disappear, as somebody said, right? So that's what we know. That's what we do know about Cuicuilco. They were a powerful city. A volcanic eruption happened that covered the land with lava. And then they disappeared. They basically were eliminated as a rival. So they disappeared, they went down. So what happened? Something's missing there, So this is the step that we're missing. That's what you can infer from that. You can infer that its economy relied on agriculture. And why? Because after the volcanic covered their land, they disappeared. So something's missing there, You can kind of add that sentence here. You can say, since its economy relied heavily on agriculture, Cuicuilco was eliminated as a potential rival. So because its economy relied on agriculture, they were eliminated as a rival, So, so that's what you guys are missing. Now, some tips I can give you for this type of question, what can be inferred question. Usually, you need to try to think of what the main idea of the paragraph is, because usually they ask about something that's really important, So most of them are not going to be about those little details. Like, for example, it was a fairly small city until that date, or it was located outside the Valley of Mexico. So maybe you can say, okay, it coexisted near the Valley of Mexico, maybe it was outside. Okay, so it was a small center. So first thing, it's never going to be that easy, because as I was saying, you're not going to be able to find the answer. You're never going to find something like it was a fairly small city. It's not going to be there. So it shouldn't look that easy as finding the word small, near. It cannot be that easy. You need to think of something else, something that's missing. And it's usually going to be about the main idea. So the main idea of this paragraph is to explain how Cuicuilco was eliminated as a rival, right, to Teotihuacan. And that is explained with the volcanic eruption, with the agricultural land being covered. So it is probably going to be related to that. So its economy relied heavily on agriculture. That's kind of the information that's missing, you know, that you can infer from this paragraph. So I don't know if it makes sense. That's it. You guys understand why D is the right one?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, guys. So this one's one of the tricky ones. So careful there. Okay, guys, any questions about that one? Is everything okay? Questions? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the purpose questions, and they are not that frequent. You can get one per passage, sometimes you get none. And what they're asking for is like, kind of like the author's choices, okay? But don't get freaked out. So this is not really like literature's, you know, but they're asking, as you might guess from the name, about the purpose or the function of an element in the text. So they could be asking about the purpose of a word that the author is using, like why is the author using this word here? Or they could be asking about the purpose of a sentence or a phrase. So why is the author discussing this or using this sentence or placing that sentence there? Or sometimes they get farther and they ask about the purpose of an entire paragraph. So they could be like, what's the purpose of paragraph 3 in the text? So these ones may take a bit more time, especially if they're asking about the purpose of a paragraph, because in order to answer these, then you actually need to know what the whole passage is about. Okay, so the tip I can give you here firsthand is if you get one of these questions and they're asking about the purpose of a whole paragraph, then you can maybe skip that question. Okay, so just take a guess and you can answer it at the end of the whole, when you're done with the 10 questions, with a set of questions. Okay, because by then you're gonna be able to understand better the whole passage. Okay, so that's something you can do, especially if you're not reading the entire thing first. So if you haven't read the entire passage before answering the question, and you're doing what we're doing right now, just reading the paragraphs, then skip this question if they're asking for a paragraph, and then you go back when you're done with the 10 questions from the passage. Okay, but otherwise, if they're asking for the purpose of a word or the purpose of a sentence, then everything's fine. You can just answer it. Okay, it shouldn't be a problem. Now, the way that you do that, you need to kind of relate what they're asking for. So you need to relate the word, the sentence, or the paragraph to the overall picture. So if it's the purpose of a word, then try to think of the sentence where the word is. If it's the purpose of a sentence, think of the paragraph. And obviously, if it's the purpose of a paragraph, then you need to think of the whole reading. Okay, so let's see how it works. So we're gonna be working on this one here. So is there anyone who could read the question this time?
Can I do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. In paragraph 6, the author discussed the driven obsidian operation in order to A, explain why manufacture was the main industry of Tehuacan, B, give an example of an industry that took very little time to develop in Tehuacan, C, illustrate how several factors influence each other to make Tehuacan a powerful and healthy city, and D, explain how a successful industry can be a source of health and a source of conflict at the same time.
Okay. Asking for the purpose of something they mentioned, why the author discusses describing observation. So what we'll do now is I'll give you again 1 or 2 minutes to read this. So please read the paragraph or try to find the answer, okay? If you necessarily have to read the entire, but try to think of what the answer is. Okay, so what would you say?
Option B.
Okay. Or do you all agree? We can be current now. Yeah, anybody has another one?
Teacher, I don't know, is it my internet, but I can hear you well.
Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
me too.
Okay, I think it might have been mine. Yes, it's probably mine. Sorry for that. Okay, but I was saying, do you all agree with B? Anybody would like to go for another one?
Like lazy.
Okay. Anybody else?
I go for C also.
Okay.
Yeah, option C too.
Okay, guys. So I gotta say, I like your options. I like that you're choosing B or C, and that A and D are not really there. So let's try to look at it right. So we are looking for the thriving obsidian operation, and it's even in, it's highlighted here, you know? So, okay, remember what I say about if you wanna know what the paragraph is about, try to read the first sentence. So the first sentence is the picture of Teotihuacan that emerges is a classic picture of positive feedback among obsidian mining, working, trade, population growth, irrigation, reduced tourism, what have you. And now the thriving obsidian operation, for example, would necessitate more miners, additional manufacturers, blah, blah, blah. So here it is what we're looking for. And this is kind of summarizing what everything's about. So can you guys tell me what the paragraph is about in this case? So what's this paragraph about?
In the part that says all these led to increased health, I think that's why that the paragraph is about the factors of how can Teotihuacan have health and it's more attractive for everyone.
Okay, all right. So yes, so all this led to increased wealth, which would in turn, okay. So, all right, so yes, probably all those factors. Anything else you guys would say?
Okay, I agree with that statement, but I would say B because the question is just about about the driven obsidian operation. So I think that the reason that the author mentioned it is in order to illustrate, to give an example. That's why I always stay with B.
But both B and C are examples, right? Because they give an example and illustrate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but anyways, I will stay with B.
Okay. All right.
I understand the idea of my classmates, but I think that it's C since it says like the purpose, right? And option B also, I am doubting about it, but I will be with C since two of that gave like an example. However, the option C, it says to make Teotihuacan a powerful and healthy city. And this is the reason, the principal reason of the paragraph. One of the factors of that Teotihuacan become a powerful city.
Okay. All right.
Weird, I'm sorry.
So we're gonna have a debate here, I believe. Okay, right. So you want to know what the answer is? We're gonna bring this type. So drums, please. It is C. Okay, actually. But you both are kind of right. So and they're both good options, to be honest. If you had said like A or D, then yeah, I would have maybe be like, why? But B and C are both good options, but it is actually C. So let's think about, okay, let me tell you this. Usually when you have this, I mean, in general, for all of the paragraphs, there's obviously a main idea, a main statement or claim, if you want to see it that way. And everything that's there is trying to support that idea. So I don't know if you guys remember in the writing section, we said, okay, so in the first sentence, you need to write your idea, your main claim, and then that is true. So it's the same here for every single paragraph. You just need to look for what that idea is, and everything that is there, every piece of information that you will find is supporting that idea. So the only thing that you're looking for is understanding what the main idea of this paragraph is. And as Maria was saying, it is about how Teotihuacan became this powerful and wealthy city, right? It's about how they achieved that power and wealth. And if you want to go deeper than that, then you can think of how, So it's because all of these factors that they mentioned at the beginning, like mining, working, trade, all of those factors, those elements, influenced each other and they created, they influenced each other positively, right? So they had this positive feedback among the factors. So it's like many balls rolling and they're like I don't know, when you play, okay, so basically, yes, one thing leads to the other leads to the other. So as you can see here, you have a change of events, right? So this increased the wealth and this attracted more immigrants and this caused this and this and that. So everything is like influencing each other to make the city a powerful and wealthy one. So that's the idea of this. And you can see that in the first sentence, also in the last part. So the picture of Teotihuacan is a classic picture of positive feedback among all of these factors that influenced each other, okay? And that's what you have in C. Illustrate how several factors influenced each other to make Teotihuacan a powerful and wealthy city. Another way of seeing this is what you're saying, it's an example for sure. Because think of this sentence. If I say something like, I'm gonna write it down here. Okay, so maybe Bolivia has plenty of talented people. And then I say, I don't know, Juan, for example, is a famous singer or songwriter, whatever. Okay, so look at that sentence there. So if I ask you, what's the purpose of mentioning Juan? Then you're gonna tell me is to exemplify how Bolivia has plenty of talented people, right? Because Juan is an example of that. So it's the same what you have at the beginning. You have a sentence, the picture of Teotihuacan is a classic picture of positive feedback, and then you have an example, the thriving obsidian operation, for example, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it is definitely an example. You have that for example, so it couldn't be A or D, right? It has to be illustrate or give an example. If it were why, then maybe you would have a word like because or since, you know? And if it's how, it would maybe have something like, this was achieved by doing this and this and that. Okay, but it's definitely an example. And if you're asking what this example is about, and it's about the first thing that you have. So one is an example of how Bolivia has talented people. And the thriving obsidian operation is an example of how Teotihuacan is a picture of positive feedback among different factors. Okay, guys? So I don't know if that makes sense. Is it okay for those of you who said B?
Yeah, it's definitely clear. Actually, I remember now that I think it was last class with you that you mentioned also that we gotta look for the most complete answer. Like, yeah, no, that was you, right? So that was why I was with the doubt too, because yes, it's like more complete in a whole aspect.
Okay. So yes, that is true sometimes. I don't know if I said that, and I didn't really want to say it. It is true, you know, there are some tricks. Like sometimes you have, you know, the option that's too specific, the option that's too broad, the super long one, the super short one, and they're probably not going to be the ones. But that may be tricky because if I say that, then maybe you're going to just think of it that way. And if you see like a long response, you may eliminate it, or if you see a pretty short one, you may eliminate it. And even though that sometimes may work, you know, sometimes it doesn't. So it is tricky to see it that way. But yes, usually if they are like, if it's too broad, if it's not that explained, it's probably not the one. And if it's too explained, or if it's too something about so like a very specific detail, then it's probably not the one either. But that depends, okay? So that can change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. So any questions then? All right. Okay, now the paraphrase questions, the next ones. I love these questions because you don't have to do what we just did. You don't have to read and try to think of what the answer is. In this case, everything you need to read is going to be in the question itself. You don't have to go back to the passage, to go back to the paragraph or anything. What they're going to be asking you to do is to paraphrase something. So restate, basically, like find synonyms or find out what one sentence or what the closest sentence is to the one that they're giving you. So, okay, you'll see what I mean. Like, let's see. Sometimes it might be tricky if you read the entire thing. So if you go back to the passage and try to read it and try to summarize it, that's actually going to confuse you. So just try to read whatever you have in the question. Now, in this case, since it's not that frequent, sometimes you have one, sometimes you don't. I didn't find an example in the set of Teotihuacan and everything, but we're going to be working on this. So could anyone please read the question? Maybe just the question and the sentence, and then the options you'll read.
Can I?
Of course.
3. Which sentence is most similar to the following sentence from paragraph 1? The theory is based on the assumptions that life developed from non-life and progressed and evolved in a direct manner.
Okay. Now, please take a time to read the options. Okay, guys. So have you had a chance to look at them? What would you say?
I would choose letter A.
Okay. Anybody else? Do you all agree? Okay, nice. So yeah, the answer is, yeah, actually A. So, well done. So as you can see, I forgot to mention this was about the theory of evolution, by the way, but I'm guessing you assumed that. So everything you need to do is paraphrase it. Paraphrase whatever you have here and find that in the options. The trick here is never include or never choose an option that it's including something that's not directly in the sentence. So even if it's part of the paragraph, and that's the tricky part, you know, because maybe you have something like this. Due to the controversy, it's hard to make assumptions, blah, blah, blah. So we don't have anything at all about a controversy in the sentence. So, and even if we did have something in the paragraph, remember that you don't need to read that, you know? So if it includes something that's not in the sentence, then it's not that one, okay? And it doesn't have to exclude anything either. So it needs to have exactly what it has. So if it's like something to summarize, something that's not really saying the same thing, then again, that's not that one, right? So for example, this one here, based on certain assumptions, we can prove that evolution occurs in non-living and non-living entities. So that is something completely different than what we have in the sentence, isn't it? Because the sentence is about what the base of the theory of evolution is. So what was this theory based on? It was based on the assumptions, blah, blah, blah. And this here is something different. It's something about where evolution occurs. So that's not what the sentence is about. It's not about where it occurs, but on what the theory is based. So it's not B again. C might be tricky because it kind of has the same thing, you know, life has its origin, was created, blah, blah, blah. But it has something, it goes deeper than that, you know, it's a conditional sentence and it's actually saying that if we assume this, his theory holds true, which is something that we don't know, right? We cannot say that. So it is definitely A. The theory, AKA the theory of evolution, is based on, is founded on, I'm not sure about the assumptions and evidence. I think they might have messed it up a bit here. Well, but anyhow, you know, developed from is the basis of non-life. Non-life is basically non-organic compounds, progressed and evolved, developed, indirect manner, and guided way. So it's exactly the same, different words. And it doesn't even have to be exactly the same, you know, it just needs to be the closest one, the most similar one. So careful, try not to include anything that's not mentioned or leave anything behind. Okay, guys, any questions about this one? It's okay, right? Okay, so this one we have seen this last class, I remember. It was the one where you're just asked on what does the pronoun refers to, and you need to choose a pronoun. But now let's look at the final question. So these are the summary questions, okay? The last one that you will see. Now, in these questions, they will be asking you to summarize, the entire passage. Sometimes they ask you to just choose one option. Sometimes they ask you to choose more options. And it is important that when you answer these, you need to have read the entire passage, of course. You need to make sure that you have gotten the idea at least. And it's worth a bit more. It's worth 2 points, which is like 2 of the other questions. So we're gonna see how to approach this question. Now, the thing about that, hold on. So the thing about that is that if you decide not to read the entire paragraph, it might be harder, but I think you can do it still. Let me show you how or why. So as you can see, when you answer question 1, it's usually about paragraph 1. You know, question 2 is about paragraph 2. Question 3, paragraph 2 again. Then you have paragraph 3, and then you have paragraph 4, finally paragraph 5, paragraph 6. So as you can see, when you get to the last question, to the 10th one, then you must have read the entire thing because you have read the 6 paragraphs in order to answer all the other questions, right? The 6 paragraphs that you have. So if you do that, then you still can answer it because you already have an idea of what everything was about. To be honest, you don't even have to know every single detail. So don't worry if you've missed some details. Now we're gonna try and do it, okay? I know that we haven't read the entire thing, not even the 6 paragraphs, but I'll show you that it's actually possible to do it. So sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, but okay. So the question is, an introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the 3 answer choices that expressed the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or are minor ideas in the passage. Okay, so select the 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. So I'll give you some time to read them, and I want to know what you guys think, okay? So if you can take a guess, we're just guessing for now, but let's try and do it. Yeah, so what do you think? I know that we don't know it for sure, but if you had to choose 3 ones, which ones would they be? 3 options.
Maybe B, C, and E.
Okay. B, C, and E. Okay. Anyone else?
A, C, and E.
Okay, A, C, and E. So let's look at the answers. Okay, so they were actually A, C, and E. So you guys were close. Now, the thing about this question, I would say that it's actually quite easy because you just need to choose the ones that are like the most general ones, the broad ones, okay? Never, as you have in the instructions, try not to include any minor ideas. So that's the tricky part, okay? Because they are gonna add some options that talk about things that are mentioned in the paragraph. So maybe somewhere in the paragraph they mention something about, I don't know, about immigrants, okay? So they do talk about that, but you need to ask yourself, is that the main idea of the paragraph? And you just need to know what the main idea of the paragraph, of the passage is, okay? And in this case, the main idea of the passage, as we said last class because of the title, is about the development of Teotihuacan. And we have many factors that influence that, or many ways in which this city developed, many different things, you know? It's not just about immigrants or just about religion or just about natural resources. So it's about a lot of things. So try to choose the ones that are, you know, broad ones. So for example, if you think of B is too specific to be the one because it says Teotihuacan may have developed its own specific local religion as a result of the cultural advances made possible by the city's great prosperity. So option B is just referring to their religion. And the passage wasn't about Teotihuacan's religion or the rise of Teotihuacan's religion. It was about the development of Teotihuacan in all of their aspects, okay? So not just the religion. So it cannot be B. Now the same happens with D, right? It's about, as a result of its large number of religious shrines, Teotihuacan became the most influential religious center in all of Mesoamerica. So again, it's focusing on just one element. Option F, for example, although many immigrants settle in Teotihuacan, the increasing threat of coerced labor, blah, blah, blah. So it's about immigrants, coerced labor, population growth, just one of the things. But if you look at A, C, and E, on the other hand, they include everything, don't they? Because they are like the number and sophistication of the architectural, administrative, commercial, religious features of Teotihuacan indicate the existence of centralized planning and control. So in general, many things. Several factors may account for Teotihuacan's extraordinary development, including its location, natural resources, potential, elite, misfortune, rival communities. So again, you know, including these factors, but not excluding other factors. So several factors, the development of Teotihuacan. And the same happens in E, right? In many important areas, from the obsidian industry to religious tourism, but there are many more in between, many other areas, Teotihuacan's success and prosperity typify the classic positive feedback cycle. Okay, so as you can see, the three of them are very broad. They talk about all the things that are mentioned in the paragraph. And in general, they talk about the development of the city, right? And I don't know, how powerful, how wealthy it was, or how organized it was. Okay, guys? So I think that's the tip, you know, just try not to go for things that don't match what is mentioned, that they're not mentioned, or that even if they're mentioned, they are too minor ideas, you know, they're not really the major, most important ideas. Okay, guys? So any questions about this last one before we go, or about anything we saw today?
Teacher,
Yes.
if I answer like the two options correct and one incorrect, it will count like incorrect all the questions?
No, you will actually get some raw points. So if it's 2, then you will get at least 1.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Any other question? Okay then, guys. So I'll see you all next class. Before you go, don't forget the daily survey. And I'll see you. Actually, well, not everyone has to do this one. I would appreciate it if you just the ones, I don't know, the ones that are in the 709 group could answer this survey. So those who are finishing the course today, I don't know if you guys know, but today's our the last class for some of you. So
Thank you, teacher. Thank you very much.
okay, no worries. So bye bye guys, take care.
Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye, teacher.
bye.